Let's quickly review what we did in class earlier this week. My goal was to scan a hard copy map that included the country of Portugal and also areas of the Atlantic Ocean and areas of Spain. Now, for purposes of the map, I want to put this into the page 1 of a photo book, but I want to have the Portugal portion emphasized by darkening everything except Portugal. So that's the goal. What I did was I'm working in the expert mode. I've already made my duplicate copy for safety, and I used the magnetic lasso tool to come down around the perimeter of Portugal, and that established a selection, right? All the marching ants were going around the border of Portugal. But I wanted to invert the selection to tell Photoshop, I don't want that, I want everything else. So when you do the invert, which is an easy command from the layer panel, it 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 takes your command and it then has marching ants around the entire perimeter and everything except Portugal. Now, when I did that, I added an adjustment layer. So first I did the selection, then I inverted the selection such that the marching ants are highlighting the ocean and Spain, and then I added an adjustment layer. And the adjustment layer can be added over here with this icon here, and I used brightness and contrast. Okay, and that's what created this top layer. Now let's see the effectiveness of two things. One, an adjustment layer allows you to go back and change your mind about the adjustment itself, and you do that by clicking on this first icon. The second advantage of doing an adjustment layer is it comes with a layer mask, which is this item right here, this white rectangle with the big blob of black in the middle. Okay, and the layer mask is going to allow me to go back and refine and make corrections to the selection that was made. The way the layer mask works, and I'll get into more detail as we actually make those corrections, the layer mask controls what portions of the layer are affected by the adjustment. So let's see how that works. I'm going to go back and double click on the icon for brightness and contrast, and I get my sliders back. And I'm going to reduce the brightness on everything except Portugal. Okay, in fact, I'm going to, when I do the finished book, I'm probably going to have it looking like this, but I'm going to go all the way over here such that you can see the mistakes I made. All right, now the way I'm going to correct these mistakes, let me get in a little bit closer here, holding down the space bar. You'll notice this area of Spain is still bright. It didn't get darkened, along with this little area up here and a few other areas. So I have to clean this up, and you'll notice some areas inside of Portugal ended up getting darkened, and I really don't want that. I want really just Portugal to be bright and everything else to be dark. So here's what you can do. Here's what I'm going to do. Dialog box. I'm going to click on the layer mask. So notice the emphasis of a blue border around the layer mask now. That's because it is selected. If I click back on the icon of brightness and contrast, then that is selected. But I really need to select that layer mask. Now, if you'd like to see what the layer mask looks like by itself, there's a little trick, and that's really using the Alt key on a PC or the Option key on a Mac. So Alt clicking on that layer, on the icon for the mask, shows just the mask. All right, so now this thing here is much larger, and we can make some assessments, and we can see right away there are these areas here that are in black. Those areas are in Spain. Okay, and I need to fix that. I need to make this border correct and fix these overages. Also, this area here and this area here, that needs to be fixed as well. All right, that's really inside the country of Portugal. So here's what I'm going to do. Let me Alt click again to remove that. The way I can do this is by painting on the mask. Again, the mask is selected because it has the blue border around it. And I'm going to zoom up on the picture here to work on a certain section. Okay. And again, I'm going to alt click on the mask. Boy, I need to fix this and whatever, and I need to fix this too. Need to fix this up here. So I'm going to alt click again so I can see what's going on. So here's what you can do. You get a paintbrush, and once the layer mask is selected, you have only two options of color. Okay, this is not a normal kind of paintbrush. A normal paintbrush would allow me any number of colors, but it's just black, white, or gray when you're working on a mask. So in this case, black is selected. Okay, and if I paint with black, it's going to prevent the darkening effect from taking place. Again, let me alt click on the mask. This needs to be black. If this is black, then we'll have continuity in that border with Portugal. So I can actually paint on the mask like this. Watch. I'll just do a portion of it. I'll get rid of the mask only. And now you see, indeed, I have fixed a portion of that. That area here has been fixed. I need to fix the rest of it. So I'm just going to, again, alt click on the mask. And I've got a brush. It's a pretty, hard-edged brush. And I'm looking for other areas that need fixing. So I'm holding down the space bar and I'm moving this up. And I go, oh, wait a minute. This is inside Portugal. Let me get rid of this. And all of a sudden, this area, by mistake, was darkened. So I'm going to fix that by painting black on the mask. Now, I've been doing it this way. I've been alt-clicking and just painting with black. And then I alt-click again on the mask to come back and check my work. As long as the mask is highlighted, I can paint right here if I want. Let's see how this works. Sure enough, it works just fine. Okay? I find it easy to do the alt clicking on the mask to see where the gross errors are. Okay? And I still have some other gross errors to fix, namely these things here, these portions that are going into Spain, and they should be darkened. So in order to do that, we have to make sure these areas are white, just like the rest of Spain. And I can do that by painting, you guessed it, on the mask with white. So if I come over here to the color picker and I switch the foreground and background color so that white is the foreground color. If I come up here and again I'm highlighting on the mask and paint in white, I should be fixing that problem. Let's alt click again to dispense with seeing just the mask, and sure enough there's no problem up here anymore. This is all Spain and it's all darkened. Now here's a problem down here. Because the mask is highlighted, I can paint in white right over this, and this should get dark. Let's see if it works. It does. Okay. Now during the class this tool wasn't working for me, and that's one reason why I'm redoing this to illustrate the way it should have been done. I didn't have time to troubleshoot it with the constraints of the time in the class, so hence this tutorial is being done for your benefit. Again, I'll go to the mask, alt clicking on the mask. Again, alt click is the PC option. Alt key, or even if there is, you would use the option key on a Mac, you use the alt key on a PC. Now, what do I have to do? I have to fix this thing. What do I need to do? I need to paint on the mask in white. Well, good news, I still have my white color foreground, I still have the paintbrush, so I just should be able to paint like this. And if I Alt click on the mask. Sure enough, I can check my work. Okay, so let's do another quick check. Alt click on the mask. I'm not seeing any other areas that are significant. Up here, this actually should be black, shouldn't it? That is part of Portugal. That was a mistake during the selection. And then I'm going to change my colors. So now I'm painting with black, and now I'm filling the mask in with black. Here's why it works. Okay, when you use black on a mask, anything that's black is blocking the effect of the layer. And the layer is darkening things. On a mask, anything white allows the layer effect to come through. It permits it to come through. So the way I remember is, black blocks. Those two words are very similar, black and block. Black blocks the effect of the layer. And by contrast, by inverse, white allows the layer of the mask. So I see some white up here. If I can be real picky here, I guess I could come up and I could paint some of those edges. Okay. Again, Alt click on the mask gets rid of just the mask, and I can come back and I can check my work. Okay. I'm going to double click on the sun, the brightness icon, and I'm going to make this brighter for the finished product. Okay. This is pretty much what I want to have in the book. So in this case, I would do a file save as, and I've already renamed this version 3, and it's going to be version 3 PSD. And then when I go to use it in the photo book software does not acknowledge Photoshop formatted documents, so I would have to do a file save as. And instead of PSD, I change the type to JPEG. And I save it. And anytime we're doing a JPEG, we're asked for a confirmation of the quality level. 12 is the best, so I've got 12 in here, and I click OK. And now I've got both a PSD and a JPEG ready to go, and I've cleaned up the areas, correcting the mistakes I made in the selection process. Hope that helps.